So we're going to file, add data, add XY data. Sorry, I forgot to turn on record, so I've got to go back to this. Open it up and try looking for that spreadsheet that you just created. We don't want the XLSX. Oh, I might have to refresh this because it's not looking like it's reading it. Okay, just get the one that doesn't have the extra X on it. That's your 97 to 2003. Open that one and it's going to prompt you which page do you want to look at. This is important, and I named the pages by the coordinate system because the next thing we're going to do is actually add the coordinate system to them. So start with NAD 27. Select that one and then say add. Because the column headings are latitude and longitude for the latitude and longitude column, it knows automatically lat works well, lon works well, anything that indicates to GIS that that's a latitude and longitude, it'll automatically read. If you don't have a column heading like that, you're going to have to assign which field that is. And these are all the column headings in there. Oops. So just be aware when you're setting this up. The next thing we need to do is assign that coordinate system. Right now it's unknown. It's NAD 27, so we're going to go in and edit. Geographic coordinate systems, North America, USA and territories, and here just plain NAD 27 is what we want to assign that. And then when you've got that set up, just say okay. You're going to get this next message. This isn't an error, it's just a warning saying this is not quite a shapefile yet. What it's creating is an events table. It's going to look like a shapefile, but it's not going to behave like a shapefile. So we got to do one last thing. Say okay to bring that into your map. And there's a point floating way off somewhere in space on this, but if you go in and zoom to this little clump of points, you'll see that this, in some way, kind of looks like Silverbow County. I'm going to bring Silverbow County in so you can see where we are. So these are the wells that were located in Silverbow County. You see we've got a couple that are floating outside of the area that somehow got entered wrong. But I'd like for you to add, well, actually, let's finish this up and turn it into a shapefile. See the little $ in events? This means this is still an events table. We want to finish this up and turn it into a shapefile by exporting. Right-click, data, export data, and just save it as a shapefile. And name this NAD 27 because we're going to convert these into all the same coordinate system. Yes, we want to add it to the map. Our end goal here is to create a shapefile of all of the wells together in Silverbow County, but because they're in 3 different coordinate systems, we have to take 2 of them and put them in the same coordinate system before we can combine them. So we've got WGS 84, NAD 27, and NAD 83, and we want them all to be in the same coordinate system before we put them all in one file. Once you've created the NAD 27 shapefile, you can remove the events table and create a shapefile for NAD 83 and WGS 84 for me, please. But make sure you assign the coordinate system properly based on what it says the coordinate system is for those files. That's file, add data, add XY data, NAD 83. And it's going to want to use NAD 27 because that's what you previously assigned. So just make sure, oh, I went into Canada. Just make sure you use NAD 83 instead of NAD 27. If we were looking at elevation and you had a Z field, you could assign it here. So we've got altitude, and you can assign altitude or total depth as a Z field here if you'd like to.
for the WGS84, where do we find that again?
That one is under GCS World instead of North America. Go down to World, and it should be near the bottom of that list, just plain WGS 1984.
Are you adding yours as a layer? You know how it's like, oh, do you like this as a layer?
Yes, just put it on the map because we want to
Mine are just all double, so I'm just curious why.
get rid of the events. The one that says $sign
Okay.
events, delete those because those are unfinished shapefiles. That's an events table. All I did was remove those from my map.
Thank you.
You don't have the editing capability with events shapefiles that you do with actual shapefiles. So what we're going to do today is actually edit these files.
I feel like I missed something that I just have to attach.
Okay, so the last thing you want to do when you have the event shapefile is export that to a shapefile. So right click, data, export. Save it as a shapefile. It's the exact same thing you would have done if this was actually a shapefile. Give it a name that recognizes that so we know which one we're exporting or which one we're projecting for you. What is for that purpose. You don't need to color yours like mine. I just did that so you could see them. Whatever color it comes in with default is fine. We okay? We got all three of them? So if I want these all in the same coordinate system, what do? Pick two of them and put them in the other coordinate system. What do?
Can you just sort of the layers? Or do you have to do it again?
We can use the layers to look at it. So if you want to put, right now, all three of these are unprojected coordinate systems. So our layers, the first one I added was NAD 27. So our layers will be in NAD 27. We can view them in a different projection. So we can go ahead and put the layers in a local projection. I'm just going to pick one of my favorites. State plane international feet works. So does UTM 12 North if you've got it. So does state plane meters, whichever one you have in your favorites. It doesn't really matter. But you see how that squeezed Silverbow County down quite a bit? Because now we've projected it in our view. We're just viewing it in the projection. Our data is still in WGS 84, NAD 83, and NAD 27. And we'd like for them to all three be in the same coordinate system so that we can turn them all into one file using a tool called merge. So if I wanted everything to be in NAD 83 instead of NAD 27 and WGS 84, what would I do? Project. Very good. So we want to project NAD 27 and WGS 84 into NAD 83. Toolbox. Whenever it decides to open. Data management tools, projections and transformations, and project. I'm going to take WGS 84 and put it in NAD 83 first, just because it's on the top of my list. Be sure to put it where you want it. And I'm naming it this way so that I know this one has been projected. Because again, we're trying to make one final file out of this all together. So this one is an intermediate file. We're going to get rid of this one in the end. In the meantime, I just need to know which one to merge at the end. And I want my output coordinate system to be geographic coordinate systems, North America, USA and territories, NAD 1983. Do the same thing with NAD 27, please. I want NAD 27 to NAD 1983. Now mine projected, but it didn't automatically add to my map. If that happens to you, wherever you put it, just go grab it and drag it into your map. And when you've got that in your map, it's okay to remove the one that you projected from. We're not going to use it anymore.
There's something weird happening. It's like giving you a warning.
Oh, you're getting that warning saying that you've got multiple projections in your map. That's okay. You can say that's fine.
Okay, so just so they should all be the same.
Okay, so they're all in that tree. Okay. All right, so we've got all three of them in NAD 83 now. Now we want to run a tool called merge that's going to bring all three of those into the same file. And the reason we projected these first was to make sure they were all in the same coordinate system before we did this. So your merge tool is located under Data Management, General. Right here, merge. Data Management, General, merge. Now, because these all three came from the same location, they all have the same column headings in the fields table. When you add these in, just pick those three. Oh, shoot. Just pick those three and add them to your list. Be sure you're putting them where you want them and give them a name. And I'm just going to show you this because it's going to come up here in a minute. These are the column headings that you had in your attribute table, GWIC ID, site name, lat long, etc. All of these were the same in all three files. If you had different column headings, you would be able to choose which ones you want to use, and you can still pick one of these and use that little X to remove it. In this case, it's probably a good idea to use that geo method and say X, get rid of that one. We don't want to keep that geo method because that's where it said NAD 27, WGS 84, and we've converted all of these to NAD 83. We don't want to keep that information because it's no longer true. We've projected them. So if you wanted to bring in files with different headings, you would get a populated list through here of all of the different headings from all of the files you brought together. And you would have blank information on the files that didn't have the column heading that came in from another file. But once you've done that, and you've given it a name and a location, go ahead and say okay. I'm sorry? It was Arc Toolbox, Data Management Tools, General, Merge. And we just want to put all three of those that you can the NAT83 and then the two that you converted to NAT83. And Gabe, I had you highlight GeoMethod and delete it using that X. Because GeoMethod had WGS and NAD27 in the list, and we changed those coordinates. Those are no longer accurate. Did it give you an error message?
It says in my output box as an X. Yeah, so I did a merge here, grab my 3. And then go here. I didn't even these
We can just call it merge right now because we don't want to try it. We don't want to try and push it right.
I didn't get my weird X stuff, so that's good news.
Good thing. Data's still there.
Sometimes I have to drink it.
Yeah, just sometimes it gets, it'll lock itself into an iterative loop, and if you've done it a couple of times, it won't process because it's just like, oh, okay, well, we've done this and we're not changing anything, so I'm just gonna keep failing. So sometimes you just like, what you can take still exists, all you have to do is drag it back.
Check it.
I didn't see you doing anything.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Probably my computer, just,
Yeah. And I think that happens. So merge 2.
yeah, that works.
And then that geo thing.
Oh, yeah. It's okay, sometimes it doesn't show up. Usually it doesn't show up. Okay. Somehow the altitude thing problems are always an issue. Because we don't like that you signed an altitude.
Yeah, and it's like a lot long, maybe.
I'm just going to delete
Yeah.
the altitude.
Okay.
First thing that long, so it's fine.
Merge. Oh. I don't
This
know.
will work. Yeah. So,
Okay.
did anybody else have a fail on merge? Yeah.
I got it. Thank you.
Here's fail on it. So try those.
Did it work? Like, did it work with it?
Oh, good. Okay, so sometimes the computer just get an iterative loop. Hello. So I'm betting fingers was the same. Yeah, you bet. What you remind was I couldn't. So refine the actual.
That named it G.
No, exactly. Oh, okay. So just instead of going in there, anything that's in your map itself, hopefully it's will drop there. You don't have to go hunt it down if it's actually in your map. Just makes your life a little bit easier.
Yeah.
So if it doesn't work, I'm betting it's the altitude.
Hey.
Oh, no, that one worked. All right, excellent.
I think I led you astray and said assign an altitude just because you could.
Yeah.
I didn't like that one had an altitude and the others didn't.
Okay.
That's probably what happened. Yeah. Did you assign Z for?
Okay.
No, I'm not.
Okay, good, good.
Yeah,
Okay.
I don't even remember doing that. I could have done that next.
That, some of these are funny. So I kept my previous 3 on the map and then made the merged one single, so you can just see that it's showing the same points and it's got all the same data. But what we just did was take 3 different data sets, put them all in the same coordinate system, and then bring them together into a single data set that you created a shapefile. Question on your table, huh?
Mine is just totally, my data is just totally really screwed up. I don't know what, I try, so
I don't even know so hard.
what was probably a mistake was I put in that first.
Okay.
So then everything imported as if it was, pretending it was in this is the same unit that it assigned.
I like your phone case.
But then, so I figured, okay, so if I project, if I get it into the right.
What a weird
coordinates,
compliment.
then I can do it.
The defined project is where you went wrong. None of this should be
About to get
defined.
the words.
They were all accurate and correct.
Yeah, it looks cool.
And what we did was assign a new coordinate system by defining it.
It's like a cool color.
So, for that one.
Well, what happened was that all these imported claiming to be in.
Shoot. Yeah, no, it's like stony. Oh, got it. It grabs
But you should have assigned the,
it grabs my
We
phone
put them
case.
all down in like.
We have the same.
yeah, you should have assigned the coordinate system when you imported them. When you created the event table,
It
you
is.
actually assigned the coordinate system. Let's go back up that screen. I like it.
Okay, so I completely screwed up.
Maybe, I'm not sure. Based on what you're telling me, that's probably what happened.
No, I
I
thought
did
it's
27.
workflow.
Okay, and we want to assign this,
It works great.
and we want to go to
Most
geographic coordinates.
Sometimes it freaks out, but when I contact them, I just did folder. A lot of time I would do that, so I just do it. Yeah.
I got this right when I first got it.
So now you're going to create an event table for that.
For the 4th of July, my cat was on it. The fireworks spooked him. No,
Alright, so that was
I mean, it's like
my-
a protector, but it was, I just need to get a protector.
I was finding.
I don't know why.
Calling myself negative 7.
Yeah, so I just haven't done it. I'm starting to think I should. Like,
Yeah, you probably got that on there. Yeah, you get that projected net.
I always get your vote.
All of these
yeah,
are.
oh, I have purples all over this side, and I just,
Projected after they have.
that's fine.
Time. So we're, yeah, I think that's happening.
Yeah, no, it's starting to get bigger.
You're right now.
It's, I'm feeling this anyway.
Use Android.
Yeah, yeah.
Is yours over too?
So let's actually go ahead and export that one. to
I got the new Android.
So when you have the NAT 27,
But-
export that one.
Well,
to
and I-
first before you create the other.
That
We're
one's
just
got
gonna
the
easily just kind of move
one,
along,
all the fancy
so we can
cameras.
take the rest of the
But
class.
like,
through this.
I
You're
don't
gonna
know,
be
I
fine
tried
just
so
using
hard
this
not
as
to
if
be
it was the merge data. It's not.
And mine stopped charging.
Not
to
important what
my
files you're using.
wireless chargers. And it just, yeah, it was like dying so fast. And I was like, you're gonna be out in North Dakota, and your phone's gonna break, and you're not able to GPS to a Verizon. So just get one now. So I also know.
I started. Worked with a nice phone, but it broke all the time. It just read and crack.
How'd you find it out?
A friend of mine told me about that one. I did this one, I got to go to you.
Now just use your NAT 27 file, everything. And your description is the one that I merged. Because you're going to see.
Oh, what?
We're just doing that to show.
Alright.
No, I've never heard of anything like that. I thought maybe you did that to yourself.
Store, apparently it's.
Can you like switch out the case or no? Because that's like basically your
You
phone.
might get to do, but
Before, like, it didn't want to project, and then it's now
Probably
all
all wired if you do that off.
when I like created
Yeah.
that.
as it would have been.
I don't know.
Like if I took one of my thing off, oh, I would.
That was the
Yeah, I
I
remember.
don't mess with that stuff. Maybe it's not hard.
Yeah.
I replaced my camera only once. That's about as good as I get.
Really?
Yeah.
I still couldn't do that.
Yeah, it's not what I was trying to say.
It's pretty freaky.
Are you an
Yes.
apple person?
You know, that-
Oh, really? You seem like an apple guy.
It works, it works.
I guess there's somebody said that to me, so it's,
Yeah,
so I'm not insulting you.
Could you navigate that?
Maybe I'm not. Yeah, Android's better. He has an Apple?
Yeah.
Oh, he'll find out.
Same with the computer.
No, you can't do anything on a Mac though, like for, you can't run any programs on a Mac. I have a Mac, so I don't know.
Well, it's funny, he has an app with Microsoft.
This
Oh,
one really,
good.
that jackass.
I don't know what's.
Yeah, I work in telecom company, and we always set up like wireless receivers that you program your numbers. Had that, but you couldn't get in there, so they had a guy who had to buy.
There's a whole bunch in there that
He
work.
started working from him.
Basically, the one that doesn't work.
No, literally, I can't do, my Mac helps me write figure out AutoCAD, you know, the Excel is completely different, Word is completely different. So I try to do my work here on these computers. And my dad did give me a nice HP. But I have to tell you, it's so heavy, it's so big, I hate it. I won't use it. You know, maybe if it was like light and like small and like my size. I'd use it.
I had no idea that. Seems like it was a,
Um,
it seems like that was.
Yes, that works very well.
Edition with
Oh,
Excel,
have you
not
done?
GIS. You
No,
don't
I
do
should
anything,
call her.
that's just.
Oh, yeah, you just do
yeah,
that.
there's no come on there too, that
That's what it's not.
just they're just installed in wireless units instead of like straight from those. They're just
Shape
all,
files before you try and project some for.
I'm just curious, have you met
Have
Bailey's?
the data,
You know, you can help me with
export data.
because you know, you
So
know,
this is just like.
do you know what's this?
This file? All you have to do is send them.
I met his brother Seth.
I just saw that she got married and I just didn't even know she had a boyfriend, so I'm just wondering if you obviously probably not.
Bailey is your sister.
Bailey's is older.
And then you can. Events
Yeah, she's
are very
very
cooperative as.
And I think she's also
Shape
dating
files,
sisters
they
like
don't
that
really
COVID.
handle, yeah.
I'm gonna see
You
the
can't edit them.
years, so
So
she
the next one
should
is shape files.
Okay, yeah, 'cause the only one that
She's
wasn't
a-
letting me do it, she's in actually 27, but the other one's not.
Here.
And then she's Excel.
Yeah, well, then she has another one now.
I
That's
don't know
it.
why.
That's it.
Me and
His
Excel.
brother wants his brother.
So,
Yes. I absolutely.
Oh, yeah. Yes.
Then I met his
There's
parents.
four of them?
So,
Yeah, there's,
I'm gonna move on. If you want to just get one of these files to work with.
I think Seth
Go
is.
back on commercial next class, but just use.
Yeah, he's a sophomore.
Now, so get the exercise and that's it. Just picking one, whichever one works for you. All right.
So now we've created from nothing a new shapefile. And it was a little bit tedious to go through all of that. But now you know how to take XY data that you may have been handed and turn it into a shapefile. So, let me make this. The next thing I want to do is show you how to manipulate this data. We've created a point shapefile. So let's now start editing these shapefile, this shapefile, and we'll look at lines and polygons here in a minute. First thing I want to do is these points are all outside of Silverville County, and I would like to remove them from my file. I don't want to have these in my map. Now we know how to select everything in here and export it to a new shapefile, but in this case, I don't want to create a new shapefile. I'd like to just eliminate it from this one because those data points are clearly wrong. They're supposed to be in Silverbow County. So what I want to do is open a brand new toolbar we haven't used before. Let's go up to Customize, Toolbars, and check this little editor toolbar. You have the ability to manipulate both your spatial information and your aspatial attribute table information only when you're in an edit session. You have to turn editing on in order to do this. So once you've got your editor toolbar, click on editor and say start editing. It's going to ask you, are these the files you want to work with? Say yes, continue. And you'll get this little create features pop-up menu. If that disappears on you, you accidentally close that, you can go up to Windows. No, I'm sorry, it's under Editor. Editors, Editing Windows, Create Features. So we want to keep that Create Features if we're creating something. For now, I don't really need it because I'm not creating something, I'm deleting something. But while I'm in an edit session, I can use my little select features, grab these points, and if you hold Control down, you can grab more than one. Oh, I'm sorry, Control Shift, or I think it's just Shift. If you hold Shift down, you can grab more than one at a time. I'm gonna grab those points and just hit the delete key. Delete them. Instead of grabbing the ones that are inside and exporting it, I'm just gonna grab those. Now, because I'm in an editing session, it will let me do that. If I'm not in an edit session, I'm gonna stop editing, we'll come back to this. If I'm not in an edit session, when I try to grab my points and delete them, nothing happens. You have to be in an edit session. All right, so the next thing I wanna do, just because we had that huge view when we first brought our file in, I know there are some points hovering out in space somewhere. Grab everything in your view, select everything in your view here in Silverbow County. Open your attribute table, and it looks like there's 8 points. I'm gonna go show selected records. So there are several points outside of that area. I want to delete everything except the ones I have highlighted. So this little key at the top, switch selection. If you switch selection, it's going to grab those 8 points instead of the ones you just picked up, the ones that we don't want to hunt down way out in space. And here at the top of your attribute table, you have your own little delete key here. In the attribute table, you can say delete selected. So I've removed everything that wasn't in my view when I zoomed in on Silverbow County here. I've only got the points that are left inside Silverbow County. And I have edited that down from misinformation to the accurate locations.
Every time I click on switch selection, it just like, it goes white.
Okay, because you're probably not on selected features.
So
Let's see.
So now you're all on, you've got 7 selected, but you're looking at unselected, you're looking at the entire thing. If you want to see just selected items,
just stop.
yeah, that's fine. If you want to see just the selected items, that's there. Then, doesn't look like you're in a session right now, so between you're gonna have to, no, you don't have to do it. Now, you can tell it, I can tell you where the next session because that didn't show up. You didn't have the ability to find it because you weren't editing, now you did. Okay. And then you only have the points inside Silverbow County. Okay, thank you. Yeah. Everybody else okay? Okay.
I'm going to clear my selection. Now, while we're still working with points, we know how to delete. How do we add? I like to add points to my map. That window we had, editor, editing windows, create features. There are 2 shapefiles in my map. The edit session doesn't know which one I want to work with, so it's really important in your create features window, you select the file that you want to edit. I want to edit my Wells file, so I'm going to highlight that one. And down at the bottom, you'll see these little construction tools pop up when you select that one. It's different for the different types of shapefiles. But since I'm working in points, I would like to create a point feature in my well file. Now when I hover back over the map, because I've selected point, I can drop little points all over the place. I'm putting these outside of Silverbow County so you can see them. Just add a couple to your map. Once you've got a couple of those in your map, go into your attribute table, go back to, actually, select those, the ones you picked up first before you go into your attribute table, sorry. Use your select features and grab those new ones, and then open your attribute table. Make sure you're on viewing selected features, and notice there's no information in your attribute table at all about these. Everything is blank. They have all the same headings, but it's all blank. We don't have a latitude, longitude. We don't have a site name. We have nothing about them. But we can calculate their location, their latitude and longitude, because they're all in NAD 83 and we're working in NAD 83, we can calculate that. Right click on latitude at the top of your heading and go to calculate geometry. Now I honestly can't remember if it's X or Y, so I'm just gonna guess at this. But your X or Y coordinate is your latitude and longitude, and I can't remember if it's Y or X that's latitude. I'm just gonna leave it Y coordinate. We want our units in decimal degrees and say okay. Yep, that was latitude, okay. Longitude should be -111 or 110. So your latitude is your Y coordinate, your longitude is your X coordinate. Calculate your latitude and longitude for these two new points. So I'm just going to go ahead and close that out. Now I have actually added some information into it. Well, I can open it back up. You have the ability while you're in the edit session to edit all of these headings except FID and shape, which is information GIS needs to read these locations. Those are the only two you can't edit because it's assigned this as a point shape file, and this FID is specifically for GIS to calculate how many points there are. Everything else you can type in here. Under site name, you can type anything you want. Under geo method, let's see what kind of heading that is. It's a string. So we'll talk about this in just a second, but some of these are not going to let you type text. They're only going to allow you to type numbers. Okay, here's a good example. Total depth, and here I'm getting into your other handout, fields in your attribute table. We haven't really looked at this. We've just looked at the information somebody else put in it, but your fields, and this is a way of saving space in your files, your fields are a certain type of alphanumeric character and a certain number of alphanumeric characters. Double, which is what your total depth is, I'm right-click on total depth and go to properties, and it tells me my type is double. Double means that it's an astronomically huge number, positive or negative, with fractions. Short integer is a fairly small number with no decimals. Long integer is a larger number with no decimals. Float is a shorter number that does include decimals, and text will allow you to write whatever. But in the case of those first four, it has to be numeric. You can't type characters that are not numeric into this. If I try to type text, it's going to tell me it's out of range or it's not a real number because it's been assigned as a type of field that is only numeric. Dates, you can put time and dates in if you want to assign a field heading that way. So I'm going to take this back out because it won't let me do anything until I get away from that. But you can also add your own field headings. Now here's where it gets kind of fussy. I'm going to close my attribute table. Go away. And I'm going to stop editing. It's going to prompt me to save my edits. Yes, I want to save my edits because I just went through all of this, but that's terrific. If you made a terrible mistake and you've got to go backwards, just don't save your edits. You can also, as you go along, instead of just stopping editor, you have this option to save your edits. Open my attribute table back up. I want to add a whole new column. I'll add a text column. I have this option to add a field here only when I'm outside of an edit session. If you are inside of an edit session, it will not let you add or delete a field. So add a field, I'm going to assign it as a text, and I'm going to name it. And it tells me here in the field properties that I have 50 characters in this text. If you want to extend that, you can do that. You can make it 500. You can put however many characters in this as you want. This is limited, and honestly, you could make it 5 if you just want to have 5 characters in there. You can do whatever you want here. But this is a way they designed in saving data space into your shapefiles. So I'm just going to call this new.
Is there a way to get the attribute table to show when it's not showing?
It's not showing, it might have gotten off the screen.
Maybe it's just bugging out the.
Oh, so you are still on that menu that says show only selected, but you don't have anything selected. So go back to, go back to where it says, open the attribute table and go back to the menu that says show all.
Oh, yes, I remember that. Yes,
Yeah,
thank
there you
you.
go.
Oh, goodness.
Yeah. Okay.
I'm gonna show something. Not good.
So I'm going to add one more field, and I'm going to make it something, well, no, I guess we'll do that with the polygons. We'll leave that alone for now. But you've added a new field here, and I'm going to start an edit session, just show you what it does when you're in an edit session and you try to add a field. You don't even have that option at all. It's grayed out. You can't add or delete a field when you're in an edit session. Just to point that out. So I'm going to stop editing. I didn't make any changes, so it doesn't prompt me to save it. Okay, so that's how you add and create point data. You created point data from an Excel file, created point data from absolutely nothing. You learned how to add the information in the attribute table on your new points. So let's look at lines and polygons. In Art Catalog, expand Art Catalog for me. Whatever folder you happen to be working in, just hover over the name of that folder, right-click, and say New. We want to add a new shapefile. Now it's going to come in without a coordinate system, just like we did. We have to edit the coordinate system and assign one. In this case, we're working in NAT83, so we'll assign this to NAT83, just because we want to keep all of our files in the same coordinate system. And we want to call this something, we'll call it new line, because I want this to be a line shapefile. And change the feature type to polyline instead of point. Say okay. It automatically, because you're doing this while you're drawing your map, it thinks you want to add this to your map, so it automatically brings it into your table of contents, but there's nothing there because we haven't drawn anything yet. So once we have that in our map, we can start another edit session. Yes, continue. And in your create features dialog, this time, choose your new line feature. And you have line, rectangle, circle, ellipse, and freehand options here. Play with them. Draw some new lines in there. Select these one by one and draw on your map. Draw new lines all over the place. If there are any artists in the room, this freehand, it's pretty neat. You have the ability to draw a whole lot better than I do, I hope. You can draw ellipses. Just take a couple minutes to play with those and figure out how the different tools work. I almost never use the ellipse feature. That's probably the only one I never use, but I use the other ones all the time.
there's no more templates to show in your create feature, should you just refresh and catalog?
If no templates are showing, you're probably not in an edit session. Make sure you start editing. Yep. Don't delete these when you're done. I want you to keep a couple of these in the map because we're going to talk about manipulating it once they're drawn too. Okay, so let's try this again, adding a polygon. And like I said, just go ahead and leave these in your map. We're going to come back and play with these a little bit, but we'll add some polygons first too. Go back into Art Catalog and create another new shapefile. This time we want it to be a polygon. And coordinate system NAD83. Now, when you go into create features, you might have to refresh that by closing it and re-adding your editing window if it doesn't show up. Oh, it's not showing up. All right, it's not going to show up for me, so I'm going to stop my edit session, save my edits, and restart my edit session. And it should recognize that this time when I open the window. There it is, okay. It didn't like me creating a new shapefile while I was in an edit session. If that happens to you, you can't add that. Just go ahead and stop editing and start editing again. But this time we have, what, 7 different tools for creating polygons? Go ahead and create some polygons and play with those different tools and see how those work. Yep. Okay. Oh, no.
But,
Okay. So we're over in our catalog, whatever folder you're working in, or on the cover of the folder. Just on the folder name itself, GIS. Right click. And say new. And we'll say new shape. Okay. So you can create point, one, or polygon. Right now, we'll just go with polygons. So you have a new polygon and give it one system. So you, so it's just new shape file. If you're in an edit session, you don't want to restart your edit session, so it'll show up in the report. Yeah. Okay. So continue. Oh, okay, because you did highlight. Sorry. All I do is try that didn't matter. I'll close that out. On YouTube. Okay. So continue and reopen that window. Editor. I'm sorry, editing. So now, on.
Like the comps combination. Yeah. And the thing is, she's a good driver. Like, I trust her. You have to go through, like,
were all in 1983. They were just like, the shapes were over here. And
This is.
Really?
That's what's happening here. I don't know what. Something's happening here.
Looking around and I'm like, there's no one.
shape of letter, because we really wanted like two.
Be afraid if I make okay, I actually drew it here in the house in this and I was on that side. It was like, who am I really doing this for? Like, so I was able to drive it separately.
No, I wasn't.
But if you want to go talk to me.
He drove.
I
Oh my God, no. You were yours showing them? Were yours like, they cut you open while you were awake? Oh, that's fine.
Oh, yeah, back there. Yeah.
No, that's
He's
honestly, yeah, no, I still haven't had these. And I told him, he's like, I'm so used to weird stuff. He's like, oh, that's, will be normal for a while. It's like, okay, like it's been quite a while now. 21st will be a month.
Points. You're weird. It's doing it again.
My sister had to get hers out.
I know.
Oh, it's my room.
That's fine.
Yeah. No, it's fine. I mean, I'll
It's another
try
one.
and do it.
He's like, like, right before he comes to me out, he's like, wow, they're a lot better than
Wow. Oh my God.
oh my God.
So you can see the
action, you know.
Okay.
Like she could hear it.
Oh my God, she really.
That's just from just one principal.
So I know there's, searches of beauty. But probably, he puts his knee and really just rips it out. Everyone, and I've heard so many people asking for a takeout for parent. And they're like, yeah, it was great. It was kind of crazy. Yeah, it's like, what the hell? I'm so happy I didn't go to him. Yeah, he still does that. Yeah, I did, didn't do it.
Let me.
Yeah, yours is wrong. On yours?
Yeah.
Nice.
Yay.
It's like, wait,
Let's draw a couple lines for a second, and then
GIS.
try and bring Silverbook County in from. This should now be in projected coordinate system. I'm gonna show you how to manipulate some stuff. But yeah, just I don't want to do this session. So it'll show up. Something's wrong with that Silverbook County. I don't know. Just play with the construction tools for a minute and follow as I show the other options.
Yeah, well, he's
Okay.
I'm gonna do it on Silverbook County, but you can do it on any polygon.
Okay.
So it's just the.
Oh, shit.
How missed where the location of.
No, the open reception, you put it in the
More, I'm sorry, not just editing.
and it's.
Now bring that back up.
See you, my friend here.
Okay, all right, I'm gonna show you a couple more things. I was gonna draw a few more shapefiles in here, but you get the idea of how to work with these. Now, this is not the limitation of your editing toolbar. You have a whole bunch of different options here. One of my favorites is edit vertices. So I made a mistake drawing something. I'm gonna edit vertices. You have to select an individual feature before you do this. But you can see anywhere you clicked, there's a vertex. When I'm in edit vertices, I can delete that vertex. I can delete the entire shapefile,
Oh, got to pick one. I can move that vertex around. I can adjust where it's located. I can drag them out. You can do all kinds of manipulation of the file you already have with the edit vertices. This is another one I'm rather fond of. I'm going to select Silverbow County and say maybe I want to draw a new, where is it? Maybe I want to draw a new Silverbow County that's split. I don't have my trace features. Nope, it's not showing up for me here. There's a trace icon in here somewhere that's not showing up on me. Well, I'm going to take Silverbow County and split it. This Cut Polygons tool. Say maybe I'm only interested in the top part of Silverbow County and I don't want to draw the whole thing. I can just draw across the top and cut it. Why won't you cut? Well, you can cut one of the other ones, I'm sure. All right, it's not cooperating with me. I don't know why. It might be. It might be. They're fed up. Where's the... Well, I'm going to select Silverbow County and show you the edit vertices on this one. When you have a really complex shape that's not just a simple square or something, you're going to end up with a gazillion edit vertices. You're going to have so many vertices in there, it's going to be really hard to edit that. You can grab an entire group and edit those all together, but it's kind of a pain in the ass to edit these one by one because there are so many in there to grab one by one and move around. It's going to take you a long time. So I wanted to show you the trace features tool, but it's not showing up on here for me and I don't know why. But I just made Silverbow County all wonky. And this right here, this is a great example of why you should open new edit sessions for each time you do something. Say maybe I wanted to save all of my points and all of my new polygons and all of my new lines, but I didn't want to save what I just did to Silverbow County. This Silverbow County file is now permanently, if I say save my edits, permanently saved this way for every map I create from that shapefile. It's not just in this map. Remember, I'm dragging this in from outside of the map. I'm dragging it in from somewhere on my computer. I have permanently altered the way it looks. So what I should have done here is save my edits and start a new editing session before I did that if I wanted to keep everything without altering Silverbow County. So just keep up with what you're doing. If you did something extensive and you want to save it, start a new edit session so that you have the option to go back if you make a mistake. All right, let's see. There were a couple other things I wanted. Oh, I know what I wanted to talk about. I think that's all I'm going to show you on the editor toolbar. I do want to show you one more thing. Move your cursor around on the map, and as you're doing it, look at this little column right here. Yours may not be in decimal degrees, although it should be. As you move around, that changes. The location of where you are on your map is calculated for your pointer as you move around. If that's not showing up in decimal degrees, we can change that, but we also have this feature called Go to XY right here. Maybe somebody told me that they're located at a very specific location, or you're geocaching or something like that. You're trying to follow a GPS, you're looking for a specific location. You want to add that to your map? You can type that in here. I'm going to guess at some coordinates on this map. I'm hoping they'll land on here. Because we're in the southern hemisphere, our longitudes are negative. Our latitude in Silverbow County is around 46, north of the equator, so it's positive. I'm just making up numbers here. I can pan to that location. I can zoom to that location. I can flash that location. I can add an actual point. I can add a labeled point, a call out. cetera. I'm gonna move to it now. So you can see I've turned all of these on. But I've added that point to my map. And that is a really useful feature if when you're adding points, say your wells, you're adding these points and you know where that location is, you don't want to hover around with your mouse. You just go to that location, put your point on there, and then add your shapefile point. Because this right here is just floating text on the map. Like when we converted to annotation, I can click on that and I can write all over it. But if I want that to be part of my shapefile, I can get that super accurate by zooming to that location through go to XY. Okay? And you can look at, as I hover my pointer over that, you can look at that and see that that is accurate down here in the window. So that was the last thing I wanted to show you on this one. But I do want to talk about your final project. We have a few minutes left. I realize we haven't started yet really building projects. We're going to do that not next week because we're out Monday and Thursday you do have a quiz. I hope everybody can be here for the quiz, and I strongly recommend you bring your textbook and all of your handouts that you've kept. They are available on Teams if you want to download them, but it is open book, open note, open whatever, except each other. So take advantage of that. Have your information available. There's no reason not to. It is going to cover define, project, and project. So if you're still struggling with that, let me know. We're not going to do anything else that day because I usually have students that take the entire class period to take the quiz. It's not super long, but some people take longer than others. So don't worry about it if somebody leaves after 10 minutes. Don't worry about it if somebody stays for 2 hours. But your final projects, this is a big part of your grade. This is where you get to actually do something with your own data. Today, you just learned how to create your own data. If you guys are doing something for a senior design, if you have a thesis project, if you're just plain interested in something and want to do it in GIS, here's your chance to shine. This is really fun. It's wide open, and you get to do whatever you want. I'm going to ask you to submit a project proposal to me so that if I don't think you're doing something comprehensive enough, or if you're going way overboard, I can rein you in. So your project proposal, just getting that into me is 5% of your grade. There's no reason not to do it. And it saves you from getting to the end and being like, oh, that's not okay, that I can't do this, or that wasn't enough of a project to get a solid grade on it. I'll keep you from doing that. You have a couple of options. We have now started working in ARC Toolbox, and I've shown you a few tools. They get way more complicated, but the tools I've shown you so far are pretty simple. If you would like to learn a new tool and write a tutorial like I've written for you that I can hand out to the rest of the class, that's an option for a final project. Another option is to create something from your own data or whatever to build a map that answers a question. We're going to, I guess the week after next, actually start looking at combining data and answering questions and going through these iterative steps to try and look at something. A few years ago, they built the false course over here, and this class built the map for the false course. Went out, collected GPS points, and put it on a map, and we calculated where each of the T's were, and we're actually going to do that in here. We're going to look at that because it's a great exercise, bringing stuff together. That kind of thing is a final project. That's just taking information that is or isn't available, either collecting that information and creating something new with it is what I'm looking for. We're going to have Ewin, who teaches the next GIS class up, the more advanced GIS class. She's going to come in and talk to us. I think I'm going to schedule it for early April because I've asked her to talk about story maps online, ARC Online, and ARC Pro. ARC Pro is what ARC Map is migrating to. She's teaching ARC Pro, and I probably will be next year. We are migrating in that direction. If you want to learn something about ARC Pro, maybe do one of these exercises in ARC Pro instead of ARC Map. She can give you some resources for that. If you want to create a story map and put it on ARC Online, you can do that. There are all kinds of different things, and literally, you have free reign on this. I'm going to give you all the leeway in the world. So I hope you get to have fun with this. Most people really enjoy doing something with their own data. But if you don't have anything you want to work with, you have these other options, ARC Pro, ARC Map, ARC Online, stuff like that. but I'm trying to think. What I do want from you on all of your final projects is citations for the data that you collected and a description of what you did. Step by step, what did you do? This is different from writing a tutorial for somebody. This is just you explaining to me what you did, okay? So I'm putting this in your head now, and I gave you this little handout. Start thinking about it. I'm not telling you to submit a project proposal yet. I'm telling you to start thinking about it. You have an idea, at least in a general sense now, what GIS can do. Keep that in the back of your mind as you go through the semester, and just start thinking about what you want to do. If you submit a project proposal to me and decide later on that's not what you want to do, you want to change it, that's fine, because we are going to keep building on this stuff. Right now, we're just laying the groundwork, but start thinking now about something to turn into a final project. So that is all I have for you tonight. If you, as always, if you have any questions, don't hesitate to reach out, but I'm just kind of dropping the final project back on your brain for now because it's a big part of your grade. And no class Monday, but Thursday's a quiz. All right. Thank you very much.